Hey, Swedish Terapeut here. Okay, this is in English and it's also going to go on Facebook because there's English and Swedish. So this is the förklaring. This is the more science-based why we're doing this. And if you were here for sequence -1, then you know we have lots of different sequences that we're going to go through up to 15. But let's just do a little bit more of why. I was always the one where Lisa York in Spanish class said, Alyssa, put your hand down, you don't have a question. And ironically, I did have a question. And I always had questions. So instead of sitting around and wondering what my purpose is in this world and feeling a little crazy because of the pandemic, I'm going to do something. And so let me just share. So here we go. So we're going to share. And so let's see here. I watched this movie called The Social Dilemma. And in The Social Dilemma, it has, oh, just check this out. Look at this cloud. I mean, can anyone else feel how heavy that cloud is? I can. So a small person walking with the head down and the phone, and maybe you've seen this before, or maybe you've done this too. And any massage therapist will tell you, we worry about our necks for that, and also those thumbs. But I'm a kid of the 80s, and I watched cartoons on Saturdays, and I have plenty of people that said it was going to rot my brain. But I'm still curious. So I don't know the ramifications of social media, but I do think there's an awful lot of good. And even Bill Gates now has a podcast. So, pretty cool stuff. What's not cool is because of the pandemic, I've had a lot of cancellations on my schedule, as everyone else. And check this out. I went for a walk. This was just on Tuesday. The 17th. Wow. Yeah. There's a fork and there's a knife. And every time you see a circle, there's another piece of trash. So because the camera can show all the pieces of trash versus the leaves, that's trash. So here's the thing, in Sweden we don't have a word for litter bug. But when I took all that trash back and I divided it up, I know, what are you going to do if you have nothing going on for the day? And besides, the whole reason I was doing this is I was pissed off. Because I don't know if you can see it or if my picture is there, because I know who threw this. This is a cinnamon bun. And in the morning, a girl goes to buy a cinnamon bun at the local store, and she eats part of it, and then she throws the other part away. Okay, so the cinnamon bun will break down. I'm not worried about that in the environment. The paper will take longer. But what's more important is what's going inside this girl's body. It's sugar, and then she's going to start her day and she's going to sit and she needs to concentrate, and it just worries me. So I'm looking at this whole table and I'm thinking, okay, well, there's other things with sugar. Here's a banana peel. The only thing on the table that's going to degrade within a short period of time is the banana peel. Banana has a lot of sugar, but it also has fiber. So I think what we've always heard, you are what you eat. Well, but the thing is too, if we don't take care of this, how can we take care of this? And how can we take care of this? So how can we take care of nature? How can we take care of a social dilemma if we can't even take care of this. So let's say pay attention. So this is for the greater good. And I do believe that social media was created for the greater good, and there's lots of good education on it. I mean, it's phenomenal. But hur kan man hålla snygg I vår omgivning? So how can one keep our surroundings nice? And our miljö, our environment, is, we have an inner environment, and we have an yttre, we have an outer environment. And this, let's keep this one healthy, and then the outer one will be so much better. So how do we keep something healthy? We go to the source. So hit till källaren. There is something in our bodies, and we have all sorts of systems, and vetenskap, science, and forskare and scientists can probably tell you much more than I can. But let's just look at this fluid management system that we have, vätskehantering, and this has our electrolytes, this has our vitamins. Yeah, it's okay to think of it as the blood, but there's more than that. So with Swedish Terapeut, let's just take some time to fresha up, and just look. Niagara Falls, it says, is open. This is nature, and it's beautiful. But how does the falls get its kraft? How does it get its power? And the power of the falls comes from the source. It comes from all of those pieces coming in to give it power. So if you take some of these sources away, now this is in 1969, and that was I think the Army Corps of Engineers that stopped the water flow. And so you can see all of the skeleton of Niagara Falls. And then also there's a little bit of a picture that in March of 1848, an ice jam actually from Lake Erie caused the falls to stop. So do we get ice in our system that stops the flow? Yes, we do. Science-wise, go talk to anyone else, but let's just make this fun. Let's keep things moving. So, inhaling, andas in and andas ut. I learned an awful lot from James Nestor's book, Breathing. And then that turned me to this particular dude. He's in Sweden. He's a Swede. And check out his oh, let me not share this anymore because you got to see the difference here. Okay, check out the difference. We have this book and we have the Swedish book. So this book cover very different. This book cover very, very different. Wow, I know. Okay, let's start sharing that again. Yeah, had to show you those differences. Stark contrast. So they come with this little improve your breathing now if you order the book from Anders, which I did. And I took the test and I answered all the questions, and my score can be 60. And I got 29. And it says 25 is okay and 29 is average, but I have so much more room for improvement. So here at Swedish Terapeut with our pass, with our sequence, we're going to talk about inhaling through the nose, and we're going to talk about exhaling through the nose, but also what the diaphragm is doing. So when we inhale, and it's a slow exhale, because on the exhale, the slower it is, the diaphragm pulls up and it's your vätskehantering, your fluid management system. It's pulling all this stuff up from the pelvis and from the legs, and that's lymph, and that's good. So Anders had some information in his book that in about a minute, we breathe 6 to 12 times a minute. In about an hour, we breathe about 1,000 times. So for a whole day, 25,000 breaths. It's a lot of breathing, especially if we don't do it right. And then let me just go back. Check this out. So he says we also have about 1 to 2 kilos worth of food. And we always talk about food and calories and fat and carbs and all that kind of stuff. But what we're never talking about is in that amount of food in one day, it's 10 times less than what our system takes in through the nose on inhaling. So 10 to 20 kilos of air pass through our system every day. So there's different paradigm shifters throughout the world, science, and whatever you're interested in, you have your own paradigm shifters. My first one was Dr. Andrew Weil. He had a breathing method called 4-7-8. 4, you breathe in for a count of 4. You hold for a count of 7. And you exhale for 8. And I can't do that because I didn't hold. But you count for 8 and you exhale. Slow and easy through the nose. Wow. And then James Nestor's book, Breathing. And then Patrick McKeown's book, Oxygen Advantage. But you can go to Rankin Chatterjee podcast and you can listen to that podcast. It's great. And then Anders Olsen's book, his 2 books. So, still reading, but discovering a lot about how I'm not breathing very well because this heavy weight of everything feels on here. So now I have to start being conscious of my breath. And that's a wonderful thing. So pay attention, right? Oh, here's this really cool thing. Ayurvedic medicine. So it actually means knowledge of life. And there's so much about breathing in Ayurvedic medicine. And our Western medicine, I'm fine with it. But we've just dissected the mind and the body and put it in its separate little compartments, and we really haven't tied it back together again. So another paradigm shifter that I'm enthralled with is Sue Hitzman with the melt method, because she's packaged everything back together again. Pretty cool. Here's Dr. Andrew Weil, and it's in Swedish, it's in English. As a practitioner and teacher of integrative medicine for the last 30 years, it has been my personal mission to drive research, education, and clinical practice to advance a philosophy of health that addresses the mind, body, and spirit. I believe that integrative medicine is the future of medicine and healthcare. Oh, I'd love to see that come to fruition, especially with everything that's being taxed on the healthcare system now. So he has been involved in medicine for over 30 years. I'm not sure when this was written, but he's still trying. And all the researchers out there and all the forskeren and all the teachers, every teacher you can possibly think of from kindergarten till college, they try. Yeah. Andning. Okay, breathing. Humans' intelligence. Yes. So breathing has enabled us to do so much more. And isn't this a great picture? So I put it on here so that you can see this breathing mechanism and this nice little fat blob. But more importantly, that particular article is pretty cool. It talks about crave monoxide, which is known as nitric oxide. And so when we're moving, and actually when we breathe through our nose, our endothelial cells, endothelium tissue makes nitric oxide. So nitric oxide can be poisonous, but when it's made by the body in the right amounts, it dilates the blood vessels. So we get more craft, we get more flow through, and makes them nice and elastic. Very cool. So let's see, that same article was written by a bunch of Swedes. Some of these names don't look Swedish, but Jacobson, Lundberg, Lindahl, Sven, that's Swedish. So all of these people that wrote the article, one of the reasons they wrote the article is because this nose breathing, maybe that gave us this possibility over millennia to go from walking on all fours to walking on two legs. And breathing enabled us to do that. Pretty cool, pretty cool idea. Pretty cool. So here we have Anders Olsen again. Remember this dude? Okay. So he's at Karolinska Institute. So these guys here were from Karolinska Institute. Most of them. And then he is talking at Karolinska Institute, Sweden. And what is he saying? He says, how you breathe, how do you breathe when you exercise? Although breathing is the basis for good oxygenation of our muscles and our brain, so that endurance and concentration can be maintained, it's often overlooked. Good breathing, start here, yeah. Good breathing when we exercise promotes health and fat burning. It means that we achieve more with less effort. We love that because I'm still American. I love this idea. Okay, so we achieve more with less effort, and we experience an increased endurance and a greater inner peace. Who doesn't want that? I mean, especially now. And so Anders, he ran a half marathon for all of my kilometer challenged friends. That's 13.1 miles. That's a lot of miles with your mouth taped shut. So his mouth was taped closed, so he could only breathe through his nose. So any runners that are out there, try to run with water in your mouth or your mouth taped closed and see how it goes. It's not that easy. And when we sit and we look at the computer screen and we have somebody with this monologue that's talking to us, are we thinking really hard? Are we breathing through our nose? Are we concentrating too much? Are we sitting like this? So many things to think about. So Anders, thank you for your book, Conscious Breathing, Medveten Andning. Here at Swedish Terapeut, we are doing our best to talk about breath during our pass, or gummiband movements. So, Daniel Lieberman's book, Exercise. We have, if we take 5 breaths when we're sitting at rest, the first one pays for the whole brain. The second one pays for the liver, and liver right there, right side. The third one pays for the muscles, which is about 1/3 of our body weight. 1/3 of our body is muscle, skeletal muscle. Well, hopefully it's striated, and that includes the heart. Then the 2 remaining breaths out of the 5 is for the rest of the body. So that's the vätskehantering system, that's the lymph, that's the fluid management system, and breathing, super important. So the immune system, the immunförsvaret, we have that throughout our whole body, but what about here? Because the first breath out of 5, Daniel Lieberman said, is for the brain. And the brain has its own protection, cleaning up system. So how do we keep the brain healthy with the microglia? It's a healthy diet. And if you remember the first slide, that table full of sugar, the healthiest thing on there was a banana. So a healthy diet is anti-inflammatory, and every time we move our muscles produce something that is anti-inflammatory also. So movement is a very good thing because it gets our muscles moving and it gets us to breathe. Oh, and the person that wrote this article, I'm sorry I can't say your name. She's a researcher, and it's from the Conversation in the United Kingdom, a great newspaper online. It's also important for us to keep our gut bacteria healthy. And if they only know candy bars, then it's going to be much harder for them to be healthy because they love our fiber. They love fiber. And what doesn't help them is lack of sleep. And then also exercise, but here at Swedish Terapeut, because people don't like exercise and necessarily. So let's just think of this as a refresh. Pigg upp, frisk upp, friska upp. So it's a movement. It's moving. Oh, here's the other thing. It's juicing. So you know how you have a lemon, and before you have to juice it, you roll it. So the juicing is a stimulus, and then it activates all of our receptors that love tryck, that love push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. And microglia love exercise. Yeah, within a moderate range. And I have a really cool video here. So why don't we show the video? So let's share this. So I think it's a fun little GIF because juicing, you have a lemon and you have to roll it in order to get the softer the juice out. And here our little lemon is exercising. And what's better than exercising is maybe exercising with a friend. So cute little GIF. And thank you to javadoodles.com and courtesy of Giphy. Pretty fun. Yeah. So I had to share because it's good. And if we go back to our video here, what else likes exercise? Microglia. So our brain, hjärnan, is happy. So our vätskehantering, our fluid management system, if the system is overwhelmed, this contributes to health problems because one thing goes wrong and then another thing goes wrong and another thing and another thing, and by the time all these things have gone wrong, your foot might hurt, but the source is somewhere else. So you go to the doctor for a foot problem, and it's not necessarily the foot causing it, it's coming from somewhere else. And that's why I say, find the source. So, om systemet blir överväldigat bidrar det till hälsoproblem. So when the system is overwhelmed, think in mind we're one system, even though science will divide us up. And this does contribute to health problems, but it also, if we fix one problem, then also we might have a downstream effect where other problems are fixed. So in order for us to have the power of walking, of balance, of all this, why don't we go back to the source in order to make sure the craft or the power is still there? And how do we do that? By juicing. So juicing in Swedish, krama in citron. And this is known in science speak as mechanotransduction. And that's breathing, that's chewing, swallowing, moving, and juicing, krama. And what does it do? Oh, look, it goes from this, dehydrated, to this, hydrated. So we have a black and white picture to color. Here's the thing. So let's hydrate. Heat to källaren, and then give power to the system with hydration. Återfukta. We have a really cool book, and again, Dr. Jenna Machkoni, she was on Dr. Rankin Chatterjee's podcast. But here's a cool thing. When we have something like this, where things are dry, cells break. So if we don't have enough fluid in the system, or there's been a SCOTA or a damage, then the cell is compromised. And when the cell's compromised, its power, its energy source, mitochondria, leak out. And mitochondria are bacterial. They come from the egg. I got mine from my mom, and everyone on the planet who has a mom got their mitochondria from their mom. So the immune system sees this bacteria, since it's been encased in the cell, it sees it as a threat because it's supposed to be in a cell, not leaking out. So Dr. Jenna Machoni's book, The Immunity Science of Staying Well, is super important. So let's think about keeping our cells healthy by återfuktad, by rehydrating, and let's just refresh. So breathing is mechanotransduction. And mechanotransduction, Secret Life of Fascia, is an excellent movie. So wait 1 second. I wouldn't do this justice if I just had one slide, because this particular therapist has done an amazing amount of work. So let's just share the Google screen, Safari screen. So Vimeo has this, and the Secret Life of Fascia official trailer, and then part 1, and then there's a German trailer. But this is amazing. This is such a really, oh, it's in Portuguese? Wow, and it's in Italian? Dang, that's so awesome. And then Dr. Antonio Stecco, his sister, Carla Stecco, in Italy, has done beautiful dissections of cadavers to show about fascia. And so have other people like Gil Hedley and Julian Baker. And sorry, Thomas Myers, sorry. I should stop mentioning names because I'm going to forget somebody. But Secret Life of Fascia. This might be really hard for everyone to see, so I'm going to take that down. I apologize. Some people can't look at the human body, and I don't mean to be crass when I show that, but probably the best thing to look at is an egg, a hard-boiled egg, and oh, here's the thing. If you want to do a science experiment with your kid, put an egg, a whole egg with the shell in strong vinegar, and then let it set there for a few days. The vinegar will eat the outer shell, and then you'll be left with the thin hinna, the thin membrane around the egg, and then you can jiggle the egg and you can see the yolk, and it's soft and it's pliable. That is the best explanation in showing what fascia is, I think. I did that in my classes that I used to have for one of my 3 jobs. That's gone. Okay, let's go back. Yeah, I don't want to talk about me. That's boring. All right, so let's go back to mechanotransduction. Secret Life of Fascia. Great job, Bruce. Awesome. So here's Donald Ingbar. And I can't remember exactly when, but I want to say in the 70s. He was at Harvard. Or is it, and he was coming up with these ideas that, so when things move, there's a tensegrity with them and they're all connected. And I'm not going to go into detail about biotensegrity, but if you're interested, there's some great publications online by Donald Ingber with 2 sections of mechanotransduction and biotensegrity. Go read them. But the small thing of it is this mechanical force and pressure, yeah, something like that, changes chemistry. And that's why the fascia is so very cool, because it's our spider web that connects everything together. And when there's a little bit more force, that spider web has grown a bone. When it needs a little bit more elasticity, their muscles have grown. And there's some babies that are born and they don't have a kneecap or they don't have certain bones, but they have to have force on them. And that force of walking, crawling, and everything like that, that creates bone, which is pretty cool. So we're going to do a lot of movement and juicing in Swedish Terapeut on sequences 0 through 15. So here's another reason. Mechanoreceptors. Mechano, pressure, receptors. I'm going to borrow from Sue Hitzman here. They're like satellites. So all these different satellites talk to the master GPS, our central nervous system. So those mechanoreceptors are there to regulate chewing, swallowing, digestion, smelting, andning, breathing, and more importantly, growth. Oh, the bones grow when there's a pressure, push and pull, and it has to be Goldilocks, which is a Swedish word called lagom. Lagom. It means just right. Not too much, not too little. Lagom. And moving or juicing, we're going to do that. But the more often these satellites and the more satellites that send information up to the master GPS or the central nervous system, the better decision the master can make. Fatta en beslut. Oh, e-health. Understanding ligaments as sensory organs. Robert Libby did a great webinar recently. If you can, go check it out at Embodied Health Learning. And then the breathing 3-part series from Joanne Avison was just magnificent. And the way that her creativeness saw breathing and then explained it to me, I could never have done that, but she's been working on it for years. So just have a chance to go look at those. If you're bored, buy it, pay a monthly membership, have some fun. Mechanoreceptors. Here's Robert Libby's book. Robert Libby's book describes an awful lot, because if we go back here, this is a picture from his book. And all of those little lines that you see, those are mechanoreceptors, nerve fibers that are sending signals to the GPS, the master GPS, letting the master GPS know, is it vibrating, is it moving, are we safe, are we balanced, is there stability? Oh, so much information. Leon Chaitow is no longer with the world, but in 2016 he wrote about mechanical transduction, and it was quoted in a journal of bodywork and massage therapy in October. And Leon Chaitow says, mechanotransduction alters gene expression of fibroblasts and thereby changes the extracellular matrix. So, to put it in layman's terms, it changes the fluid. And our fascia. There's the article. Role of fascia fascial connectivity, and musculoskeletal dysfunctions. So it's worth a read. It doesn't take long, and it's free. It's open access. But chronic pain impacts several aspects of an individual's life, and it's not just chronic pain. Somebody might have a physical pain, but mentally that changes things as well. And somebody might have a lot of stress, and maybe that leads to a physical, mental pain. And that doesn't only affect the individual, it affects everyone around them, omgivning, the surroundings. So in that same article, Jan Wilke, he was quoted as saying muscles of the body don't operate as independent units, and that's true. There's more and more people, scientists, coming to this idea that we've been looking at systems, and now it's maybe time to look at the whole. Another scientist, researcher, says that biomechanical changes could lead to, and biomechanical, which is pressure, running, breathing, swallowing, can lead to reduced strength if something's going wrong and there's too many compensations and too many of those downstream effects for a SCOTA or a damage that's been done in one area. It can actually lead to incoordination, so not being coordinated. It can lead to pain, and it can lead to dysfunction of balance. This is worth a read, but there's almost too much information there. The most important, I think, is taking from Dr. Andrew Taylor Still in the 1900s. He talked about fascia, and he's the father of osteopathy. But he said, apart from lubricating the fibers, this fascia also is nourishment for the whole body. So in one of my intros of sequence -1, I talked about a spindle web, a spider web. And if you make it into 3 dimensions, if you've ever looked at a spider web, you also see the dew on the spider web in the morning. And it's very hydrated. And if it's not hydrated continuously, things have a tendency to, like a cell breaking and mitochondria coming out. We have to take care of inre, so the outside is also taken care of. So not only what we eat, but how we breathe and how we pay attention. Uppmärksamhet. Daniel Lieberman's book, pretty awesome, but he wrote that Bengt was a lead researcher on a study in 1966, and they did a follow-up study later, but for 3 weeks they had 25-year-olds on bed rest, and when those 25-year-olds got out of the beds, not very good. So the lead researcher concluded humans were meant to move. And then chapter 13, great chapter on movement and the benefits, but maybe it can help protect us against some contagious diseases. So we do need more clinical data, but if you don't want to wait for the clinical data and the research, why don't you just come, for you may, Swedish Terapeut, follow me, and then we can learn to funktionera. We can learn to squat a little bit more. We can learn to breathe a little bit more. And this is my cute mom. And problem is, she tries to squat like this little redhead. And she just, boom, topples right over. Doesn't work anymore. I don't think that's normal. So, juicing. We're going to try that. So can we try to freshen up? Can we try to refresh? Although we know some things about exercise, we don't know everything. Although we know some things about the body, we don't know everything. And Swedish Terapeut, I'm not here to say I know things or everything, but why don't you just come have fun and see what we can do together? Um, and if you like what we're doing, then share it, and that would be really cool, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Oh, we got that one again. Oh, I wanted to show you that little guy. Oh, well. That little juicing guy. He's so fun. So, that's the end of our förklaring, our sequence -1a. That was long, but have a wonderful day. Vi ses igen, I hope us. We're going to see each other again, I hope. And take care. Hej då.